Welcome to A Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Certified Financial Planner Ron Corser. Ron Corser and Associates are planning today for the potential of tomorrow.
And welcome into the program. This is your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids CFP Certified Financial Planner Ron Corser, President and founder of Ron Corser and Associates, our weekly guide through this complex financial world. Ron, welcome back in.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for everybody listening to today's program. Christmas is coming. It's a time to rejoice. I know we're kind of in a lockdown and got this COVID thing going on, but I still think we can take safe measures to get together with family. You know, one of the really downsides to all of this, isn't it, is that these lockdowns and all that are separating us from our roots, from our family, from connections with others. And so we probably, more than talking about money for a moment, that may be the most important thing we can do over the holiday season is connect with family, grandchildren. You know, I really miss my grandchildren down in Columbus, Ohio. My son is locked down kind of in his house, working from home. My daughter-in-law is a doctor. The children are at home, and they're very concerned about spreading the virus. So I haven't seen them since last Thanksgiving, except for a brief time when they came to Michigan in July to go up north. So chances are I'm not going to see them again. We'll do Zooms, but I miss them terribly. I miss that connection. Now, my other daughter who lives in Ionia will be able to connect a little bit in a safe way, eyeball to eyeball, so to speak. But it's really hard on families. This whole thing, and I'm not going to get one side or the other, but I think if we just sit back, we're probably old enough and mature enough to make some really good decisions with the understanding that family is what centers our lives. There's a lot of things coming against the family in our culture, but it's family that keeps us on focus. It keeps us looking at the things that make sense. Family should be devoid of politics. Family should just be about, if you got grandchildren, spoil them to death, give them a bunch of candy, get them all revved up, and then leave, and let our children, their parents deal with
the sugar rush.
Absolutely, you know, spoil them, run, and then skate. It's a great strategy. We use it quite frequently, but it's an important time to remember to hold on to what's most important, and that truly is family. Whether you have a large family, a small family, it's incredibly important to all of us to do. So we're going to talk about some things that are related to the panic, so to speak, the pandemic panic, about how do we do what we're supposed to do. And one of the things I want to encourage folks is just because it's the holiday season, that doesn't mean that, you know, trying to get a handle around your financial world, your plans, things you want to do, it doesn't mean just because the holidays are here that perhaps we can just push that and we'll worry about it next year sometime when we have that proverbial round to it that we have hanging in the garage. Well, we'll get around to it, we're going to be fine. So let's talk about this idea of retirement planning in this strange new world that we find ourselves in. And it really is strange. And I think today's program, first of all, before I forget, have a very blessed and Merry Christmas. I hope Santa Claus and all the people who give you presents give you more presents. I hope you're inundated with them. I keep threatening to buy my daughter-in-law a dog, and they just absolutely get petrified out of their minds. But one of the things they did do is they bought a hamster, I guess, something, and my grandchildren just love it. So maybe one of the days we'll get them a dog, just to scare them, just to give them a little payback from when they were young. But I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. I still believe in the really deep strength that America has, that somehow, some way, if we're willing, we can work through this COVID thing and all the other stuff that's related to it or circling around it. But keep in mind that your family is what anchors you. So let's talk about that a little bit more, perhaps. And let's talk about, we're going to talk about your money and your plan. That's what we do as an advisory firm. And just because Christmas is coming doesn't mean that it's something that we should push out of our mind. because who knows what's coming down the road. And we have to be ready really for a lot of different things.
Well, if you need any help or assistance in your planning, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with certified financial planner, CFP, and founder of Ron Courser and Associates, and he is willing to extend his time and assistance to you in helping you with your planning efforts. All you need to do is pick up the phone and give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. You can always go online, roncourser.com, roncourser.com, or again, just pick up the phone if you got a question on your mind you'd like to get a specific answer to, or if you'd like to conduct a comprehensive, thorough, holistic review of your plan to get that course to retirement. 616-301-2581. Ron, on your discussion of family and work and planning, over the Thanksgiving holiday, my sister-in-law did visit, and she is working on her doctorate in psychology, and her dissertation is about work-life balance. And she asked me, one of the questions that she is having to poll people and do surveys on, and then she'll write this long paper about, is about proper work-life balance. And do you think that it is important to manage work-life balance? And she asked me that question. I said, well, we work, we work for money, but more importantly, we trade our time for money. And so it would seem as though on the surface that money is more important than time, but quite on the contrary, we trade only enough of our time, hopefully at a reasonable enough compensation, that we can enjoy the rest of our time without having to work. And so I think that we need to keep kind of that perspective that, yes, work is important, but really life is more important, and time is more important than the work and the money when we plan. And I think that this pandemic, if anything, the silver lining on it has maybe made more people realize that.
I think that's true. One of the things I've told some folks, because we have a wide variety of ages in our client base, and we ultimately are going to leave this earth. And the question becomes, what are we going to leave our family? What are we going to leave our children? What are we going to leave our grandchildren and our friends? What do we leave them when we're no longer here? Yes, there's stuff we can pass on to them. But what we really leave is memories. And those memories are either going to be good, or maybe not so good. Hopefully they're good. I have been with clients who are unfortunately on their last days. And invariably, what they have told me is, I wish I had spent more time with family. So doing a balance, creating some sort of balance between working, playing, family, is one of those subjects that's a whole lot easier to talk about. And it's a good one for New Year's resolutions. This year I'm going to spend more time with my grandkids. Okay, how are you going to do that, Courser? Well, I'm gonna. No, it's your actions. Are you really going to do something with them? Are you really going to spend time with them? Are you really going to try to create memories, even if they're just brief? Are you going to do that? So that's one of the things that's really important, because, they say money isn't everything, but when you're without money, that doesn't exactly kind of compute.
Doesn't feel like it. Yeah.
No. So I've been with money in my lifetime. I've been without money. And if I had my druthers, I would like to choose to be with money. It gives you an opportunity to do some things. But when you think about this pandemic and we think about our life savings, how we plan with that life savings, I think is going to be forever changed as we work through this COVID-19 thing. How we get through this, how we navigate it, I think is going to be a lot different than what we were used to or what we were thinking about going forward before this thing hit this past year. So we're going to spend some time on that. And there's 3 or 4 places where it makes a real big difference. And we're going to chat about that. So some of the key issues, the first one is early retirement. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. All of us have sat down somewhere in our lifetime and said, well, I'm going to retire at 62, 65. I'm going to retire in 10 years. I'm going to retire in 5 years. I'm going to retire in 40 years. We all have an end date somewhere. And what this pandemic has done, it's absolutely kicked the legs out of that planning. It's kicked it right into the bucket, if you will, because we have some folks that we know and we help clients who were 5 or 10 years away from retirement. And the company came to them and said, we love you a lot, but we have to make some changes. That, number one, is an emotional shock. Number two, it's pretty scary when that happens in a pandemic, because as we all know, when you get a little older, finding a replacement job sometimes can be a bit of a challenge. It's just reality. But the other reality is, my goodness, I was planning on working 5 or 10 more years. Now I don't have a job. What in the world am I going to do? Because there's an interesting statistic that's come out recently that said for the first time in the last 50 years, joblessness in a recession, and we are in primarily a recession, even though the stock market is pretty high. But in the last 50 years, joblessness in a recession is higher for workers over age 55 than it is for the younger people due to the health risk associated with COVID-19. So think about that. Not only has our world got flipped upside down, here's another example of it. Older people have a higher unemployment rate now than the younger people. That hasn't happened in 50 years. And that has really severe implications for somebody who says, you know, I'm 52, I'm going to work for another 10 years and I'll be fine. We don't know that. That's why working with an advisor who will touch on this subject, not to beat you over the head, but to stick with it, but to say in a review or doing planning, how secure is your work? Well, I think it's pretty secure. Well, if you had to 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely rock solid, where would you put it? If the number is less than 10, there really becomes a need to do some planning with the idea of what happens if I don't get to my retirement date. I'm let go from my job beforehand. And here's two key questions. Always ask them. Number one, does the plan I have currently for my life savings, my retirement going forward, does it factor in that what if? What if I don't get to my retirement age? And number two, if I am short-circuited, do I have enough income in retirement to retire? Two key questions. Both of them are important to talk about. And the income in retirement is a key issue because, you know, we always go back to that $10 million you have, Peter, right? But you have $1 million lifestyle. So you can't afford to retire. You don't have but 10 years worth of income. You don't have enough money in retirement income in retirement to retire.
I'm living large now.
Yeah, just keep going. So one of the important things as a financial planning firm that we can help folks with is to answer the question, what if my plans don't come to pass? What if my retirement date is moved up because the company I'm working for made it move up? They let me go, or they cut back dramatically on my hours. Do I have enough income in retirement with what I've done so far to make it, to be okay? It's a key question. And it's a question very few, I think, advisory firms ask of their clients or potential clients. But it may be in this pandemic thing, the most important question you can ask to get the most important answer you may get over the next 5 to 10 years.
Ron, on a previous edition of the program, you reviewed one of the many resources there that you have at Ron Courser & Associates. It was a sheet, a simple one-page sheet of 12 questions to know how prepared you are for retirement or if you're ready to retire. And I remember the first question on that sheet was, do you know how much income you could count and rely on if your paycheck stopped today? And, you know, I at the time we discussed it and I thought it was pretty interesting that we're preparing for retirement, which to me and for many listening and viewing probably is sometime in the future, but the question was phrased as though the paycheck was ending today. And I think that, you know, everything you just discussed, this pandemic has really highlighted the reason why the phrasing of that specific question is so important, that we don't necessarily know. And we have plans, we have best intentions, but sometimes life happens and we need to know how much income we can count and rely on if that were to occur to us today.
I think it's absolutely critical. I've talked to a lot of people that aren't our clients, got some friends. Finding a job in this environment is a little difficult, particularly if you're not of a retirement age. So having an answer to that question, do I have enough income? Have I saved enough? Do I have enough income? And saving enough and having enough income are two different things. They're kind of related, but they're two different things. Do I have enough income to survive, to make it, to get between now and my next job? And we're going to talk about some of the things that you need to consider, and also some of the things that are very important to talk about, not only if you find yourself unemployed, but if you find yourself maybe in a situation where you're not sure it's going to happen. You need information, desperately need information to make good decisions going forward. And that's what I think we can help people with. So if you're interested in talking about this, and that means you can have a job, you can be working right now, putting money away in your 401k, 403b, but as this pandemic has shown, we're not promised tomorrow. I mean, we never have been promised tomorrow, but it's really kind of come up in real bleak terms at times. So if you want to know the answer to that, give us a call at 616-301-2581, or get on our website, www.roncourser.com. Let us know what your concerns are. We'll help you. That's what we're in the business to do, is to help people. And I know that sounds, oh, everybody says that, But I want to say something. We really do that. We really do spend time with people to answer their questions, not just give us your money and we'll be friends. We help people. We can help you through this. It's really important, because I have no idea how long these lockdowns and all this other nonsense is going to happen, how long it's going to continue to go on. We have to have plan B and C and D, so we know how to make good decisions to respond in a really good way.
Not promised tomorrow, and even if we make it, not promised what that is going to look like. So we plan with best intentions, but we also plan for contingencies, that plan B, plan C, plan D, if needed. And we carefully examine those assumptions that we're making in our planning. Ron, I know one aspect of the plan that you spend a lot of time on, and if we are forced to accelerate our timeline, might be a very important factor, is the Social Security. For those who are entering retirement a little earlier than they anticipated, it might be that we had planned to wait till 70 and now we've got to take it at 62. It might be that we had planned on retiring at 65 and now we're facing unemployment at 57, and in which case we really need to carefully review what those options are, what that's going to mean for our Social Security. And I know there at Ron Courser and Associates, you can spend a great deal of time and go into detail on all of the options and strategies that are available. And that's something that, as timelines change and evolve, needs to be carefully reviewed and updated.
It does. That's one of the things we're good at, among other things, is that we really think in the planning process, Social Security is key. That's a key piece of money for everybody. So what do? We can come up with an analysis, if it's a husband and wife, of what are, say, the top 3 or 4 options. You still have options. You still have options with Social Security in America today. What are the best options for me? What are the assumptions? We can show you in black and white what that is. And it makes a great deal of difference to people when we show it to them, because we say, here's the one that will give you the most money if you live a long time. Here's the one that will give you the most money, perhaps, if you don't get past the next 10 years. We can make those decisions. Here's the one that will give your spouse. And generally, in this day and age, in our environment and our culture, it's still the woman who has the smaller amount. Well, how are we going to take care of her? What about spousal income if the husband dies?
And
so these
usually the longer life
on.
And the burden of providing some additional care. Yeah, there's a little bit of a deck stacked against them there.
It is. And it's important to get a second opinion on the viability, I guess that's a $3 word, but of your portfolio to support an earlier than planned or just an early retirement. So even if you're a do-it-yourself guy, you should still be sitting down with a certified financial planner, which we are, and really crunching the numbers and stress test your retirement plans. You know, who was it? Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until I punch him in the mouth.
Yep.
And I know it's kind of crude. The idea of Mike Tyson punching me in the mouth is not something I want to think about. But as I've told people, if I ever have to fight Mike Tyson, I'm gonna do what I think is most rational. As soon as I get within 3 feet of him, I'm hitting the canvas. I'm taking a dive. You know, I'm gonna pretend that I just got hurt. But everybody has a plan till you get hit in the mouth. Everybody has a plan until something you didn't think about happens in your life. A health issue, a job issue, a death issue. Everybody has a plan until something happens. So it's important to sit down and say, well, is this plan going to be okay, even if I get punched right in the mouth? That doesn't sound very professional, does it?
Well, I mean, that's kind of your job, Ron, isn't it? I mean, to look at the plan and to poke holes in it and to punch it in the mouth and to stress test it and see where it bends, breaks, and cracks, to see if there are potholes or areas that have been left unaddressed. As a planner, if I am trusting somebody to help me with the planning process, that's exactly what my expectations are of them.
Well, I think it's important to take a look at all those options, to say, what if? And, you know, my life is always surprising to me sometimes. Things have happened in my life that I never thought of or planned for. And looking back, I probably could have done a little better job. But obviously, there are things that happen in our lives. No amount of what ifs bring them up into right in front of our face. Say, okay, we got to talk about this. Stuff happens. And, you know, I'm reminded of Rosanna Data on the old Saturday Night Live program, when that program was funny. And she would always say, you know, it's always something. It's always something. And that's true, isn't it? It's always something. It never stops. So trying to figure out if your financial plan works, if early retirement, late retirement, no retirement, life, death, happiness, sadness, health, all those things is critical, because where does your financial peace of mind come from? It doesn't come from how much you have, believe it or not. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. You're going to make it. And we can help you determine if that, in fact, is going to be what you can say to your spouse, your children. We're going to be okay. Let's figure out how to do other things together.
Well, again, if you'd like that help and assistance, pick up the phone, give Ron Courser and Associates a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or you can go online, roncourser.com, roncourser.com, or again, 616-301-2581. Ron makes an offer as a certified financial planner, can easily charge for his time. Similar reviews go upwards of $1,000 to $1,200 for the time, the work, and the planning that Ron will put into your financial future. If you're willing to invest your time, he's willing to donate his. This is a complimentary, no cost, no obligation, free of charge service. There is really no need to procrastinate on this. There's no downside to placing this call. It's your opportunity to get that plan put together or to review and evaluate the current plan for current events. Pick up the phone and give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Ron, in the midst of planning during a pandemic, have you had any other major topics that have come up as must address or frequently asked questions?
There is. The second one is pretty obvious at times when people find themselves, whoop, I don't have a job anymore. And it's healthcare coverage and costs. You know, if you get to be 65, you get into the Medicare system. And I always joke with people, well, then you become a ward of the state. Maybe you pick up Social Security. It's not all that bad. But if you're not there, what do you do for healthcare? You have to go outside the Medicare system, the government system, and figure out where you're going to get the care you need. Because obviously, nobody wants to be without healthcare. That is guaranteed to go wrong. So the question becomes, where do I get it? How much am I going to pay? And does it make any sense at all to do what I'm supposed to do? And this is where we can be a great, great help to people. Why? Because my wife, Nancy, who is one of our partners here at the firm, does the healthcare planning. We call it the healthcare planning. It includes Medicare, Social Security, and then going into the outside world to pick up healthcare if you're not Medicare eligible. That includes long-term care coverage. So we do that in our firm as a key planning part of what we can do to help people. It's not just go see somebody else, because healthcare costs for people as we get older, they're different than they are for our children. We spend more on healthcare, even when we're in the government system of Medicare, than you can shake a stick at. Most of us who've worked for other companies get some sort of healthcare provision from our company, and we want to keep working there until we can retire and get a Medicare. But if that doesn't happen, what are you going to do? Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters? Call us, 616-301-2581. Why? Because we can help show you the options you have to get the best, most cost-effective healthcare coverage you can possibly get. And that includes folks, nobody comes into, say, age 50 perfectly healthy, do we? Some of us have some things going on in our life, and that impacts the kind of insurance and the cost that's available. But my wife and her staff are incredibly gifted and good at this to find simply the best option for you to cover your healthcare needs. We can do that. It's really black and white. Put it on a piece of paper, show you different options, even if COBRA is an option for you. We can still verify that COBRA is the best option, or there's something else out there for you. So we're good at this. We want to make sure that everybody understands that dealing with healthcare is a central part of your retirement plan. Retirement plan is not just, large cap, small cap, knee cap, bottle cap, that kind of stuff. It includes a lot of things. When am I going to take Social Security? What about a pension if I have it? When do I take it? When do I push the button on that? What about? So folks, if you're going through this now wondering, and you're not sure if you're going to be fully employed over the next year or two, give us a call at 616-301-2581 or go to our website, www.roncourser.com. We will help you. That's our promise. We will help you get the best information to make the best decisions for you and your family.
The best of times, the worst of times, all can be improved with a plan in place, a certified financial planner, CFP, willing to help you with your money, providing that guidance to get you that plan so that you can make it through and achieve the goals that you find important into your future. Pick up the phone and give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Visit online, roncourser.com, or again, 616-301-2581. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the signs of that solid financial plan. What are the vitals that can give you reassurance that you are on the right track, and what other items do we need to think about when planning during a pandemic? When we come back on Your Course to Retirement in just a moment. Welcome back into the program. This is Your Course to Retirement. Grand Rapids, your resource is Certified Financial Planner, CFP, president and founder of Ron Courser and Associates. Ron Courser here with us. Today we are talking about some signs of a solid financial plan. Where does that process begin? How can you be assured that you have checked all of the items off of the list or addressed the main ones? And we're talking specifically about planning during a pandemic. Many of us have not faced this before, but the plan really is what gives you reassurance, whatever the world is going to throw at us. And Certified Financial Planner Ron Courser is here as your resource to help you put that plan together. If you've got questions or concerns, if you've got something that's been on your mind of a financial nature, or if you would like to review the current plan that you have in place, maybe it needs to be updated, maybe you need to spot check it, Ron Courser can help and assist. He's willing to do that on a complimentary, no cost, no obligation basis. Whether you'd like to set up an in-person review, a virtual review, or just start with a 5-minute phone call, you can reach Ron Courser by dialing 616-301-2581, 888-301-2581. So Ron, I know that there are many factors that we need to consider that we probably have not had to consider before when planning during a pandemic. But one thing that's been with us for quite some time, maybe a little exacerbated by the pandemic, but we've had these exceedingly low interest rates for what seems like a decade plus now, which has made things exceedingly hard for savers, particularly, and investors looking to get a reasonable return, get a reasonable yield, produce a reasonable income from their money.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult for savers now. The Federal Reserve, and I guess it's going to sound a little bit like a criticism, and it is, has kept interest rates down so far, that it's virtually impossible to live on interest and protect principal like we used to do 20, 25 years ago. People can't do that now. Maybe on a CD, if you extend it long enough, you can get 2% return. In a short term, a 3 to 5 year annuity, maybe you can pick up 2.5 to 3. That barely covers inflation. So savers have been crushed. What's that forced them to do is take on more risk in their portfolio with the stocks, things like that, mutual funds, than maybe they would have done a long time ago. So in order to try to get more income from their portfolio, they're taking on more risk, which is really counterintuitive to how I think most people want to face the future.
So Ron, the money that I have isn't producing enough income for me by keeping it safe. So instead, I'm going to turn around and risk losing the money that I have and having less of it. That's kind of a dangerous paradox.
It is. It's like going into the casino, and I've been told that the best place in terms of making money is a blackjack table. You have 47% chance of winning. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I've been told. So if that's the best, and you're not making enough money at the blackjack table, why does it make sense to go play like that game called Baccarat? That's the one that's in the back of the casino and everybody wears tuxedos and you got to have a high net worth to get in there. And the odds there are even less. So yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you have to put it all together and say, what can we do? Here's where we can be a great help to people. There are ways to generate income over, above, around low yield CDs or bank money that we can help people with. It's not going to maybe solve everybody's problem, but we can help people construct income plans that make sense to them without sort of risking the farm to try to get enough money out of our investments to make it, to be okay, to have the income and retirement we need. We can help people do that. That's what we've done for 26 years in this business. What's the expression? There's a lot of ways to skin that cat or carve that turkey or whatever you call it. But being on a farm, I'm not a farm boy, but I came from a coal mining town. So I know how you can load 16 tons in different ways. So that's about where we stand on this, is that low yields are forcing people to take more risk. When the market's going up, that's a wonderful place to be. But when the market corrects, it's a terribly uncomfortable and perhaps even scary place to be. Because sometimes you can take a loss. This year was a great example, wasn't it? Everything was going hunky-dory until the middle of February. COVID hit, shut everything down. Market went down 31% in 22 days. Now, people are back now to a great extent. Back meaning we're kind of where we were at the beginning of February. Nobody's 25% ahead because we went through that thing. They put in $5 trillion into the markets. Markets went up. But look at what's going on around us. I mean, we still have companies shutting down. We still have, in our state of Michigan, the government putting us on lockdowns. From an economic point of view, it's a horrible place to be if your lifestyle, if your family depends on the work you do outside the home. You know, people who can work at home, pretty fortunate. But not everybody can do that. You know, I got a really good friend. He's a client. He's an electrician. It's pretty hard for him to work at home. Or the tool and die guy. Pretty hard for them. Or the guy who takes care of our lawn and takes care of the snow in the wintertime. How does he make a living and protect his family and provide for them if he can't work? So there's a lot of things going on that kind of fold into how do we create an income plan that handle the what ifs in life. That's what we're really good at. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to have, let me rephrase it. If you don't have an income plan, please call us. We'll help create one that'll show you where every dime will come from every account that you have, and is it going to be enough to get your retirement number? And remember, we've talked on the program, your retirement number is not how much you have. Your retirement number is how much income you can get out of how much you have. But we can help that analysis and show you if you have your number, if you're going to be okay in retirement. Now, for those of you who think you have an income plan but you're not sure, call us 616-301-2581 or go to our website, www.roncourser.com. Just put in a question. I don't know if I have enough. Can you help me? That's all we need to know. We'll call you and we will help you. We'll help you get an answer, because once you have an answer, then you know what you have to do going forward to keep going forward so that you and your family are going to be okay. Because isn't that what we're trying to figure out in this pandemic? Are we going to be okay? Are we going to make it? Is everything going to be okay one day?
Ron, one of the things that allows us to have some confidence that we can answer that question affirmatively is that emergency reserve, that cash money sitting in the bank. But again, kind of going back here to low yields, low interest rates, that's not earning anything. Is that a problem, or is that just an appropriate thing, a part of, a component of a well-rounded plan, that we are going to have some money that's not really earning much?
Great question. And here's how I respond to that. An emergency fund is not an investment fund. It's nice if you can earn some interest. Everybody likes that. But its primary objective, it's the goal of an emergency fund, is give you access to cash in the next 30 minutes if you really need it. That's the goal. So it's always important. Take that little idea. The purpose of my emergency fund is to give me the cash I might need over the next 30 minutes. Every piece of money you have, every bucket, every account should have a purpose. And we should all understand what the purpose is. Understand what the purpose is for our 401k, for our IRAs, for our Roth money, for our taxable investment accounts. Have a purpose, a stated purpose for all of that money. Because if you know what you're using it for, you can avoid doing to it that which you don't want to do, which means lose it. So for example, if it's an emergency fund, my suggestion has always been, don't invest it in the stock market. It's money you're going to need in 10 minutes or 30 days. You don't want that to be less 30 days from now than it is now. So its purpose is to help you get through whatever's coming down the road. Not a major crisis, but maybe a small one. You know, I went out and bought a couple sets of tires last year around this time, one for my car and my wife. I know I'm old, but I don't think tires should cost that much. They really shouldn't. It was like $900 a piece. Now, they were good tires. I mean, I'm one of those weird guys that say, if I'm going to buy a tire, I want the best tire in all conditions. So you pay for that. But that's what we use an emergency fund for. So don't be concerned with emergency funds about your rate of return. It's like a very famous guy said, I'm not so concerned, Will Rogers said it, about the return on my money. I'm concerned about the return of my money.
And that's the mindset that we need to have with that emergency account then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what it's for. It has a purpose. It's like a Christmas fund. A lot of people used to save for Christmas funds. They do it all year. Why? Because we were going to use that money in December to buy gifts. My aunt did it. My mom did it. I think every woman in our family did it. Every aunt that I have. So, and I even did it when I was younger. But those days are gone, I guess. We don't do that anymore. But there's a purpose to it. There has to be a purpose to every dollar you have in your life savings. And you have to know that purpose, and you have to have said, I'm good with that purpose, and you have to have said, That's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to change my mind unless something really terrible happens, like Godzilla comes out of Lake Michigan and the end of the world is coming or something like that.
Well, again, we need to set up that plan. The emergency account is part of it. We need to account for many other factors. And during this pandemic, we've had to specifically look at some factors that maybe we didn't have to carefully or as carefully examine previously. But if you need help, if you need assistance, Ron Courser, a certified financial planner, he can look at your safe money plan. He can look at your income plan. He can look at your Social Security plan. He can look at your investment plan. He can bring them all together into a true retirement plan. Pick up the phone and give a call, 616-301-2581. That is 616-301-2581. And Ron, I think I have to believe that that's probably one of the items on your list of the signs of a solid financial plan is that you've got all of those different components brought together. They aren't isolated or standalone. They are part of a cohesive and continuing to be updated planning process.
Yeah, it gets down to a really simple question. Do you know what you own and you know how much risk is in there? So sometimes when we meet people for the first time and we're talking about their life savings, I ask them a simple question. When you were last with your advisor talking about risk, what did he tell you about your portfolio, about your life savings? And what I hear most of the time is, well, you said we're balanced. There's not a lot of, we're not too risky. I get that answer. And in my response is, what does not too risky mean? Does that mean in the next downturn, I'll lose 5% or 55%? See, it's important to understand measurable risk in your portfolio. We can help do that. We can actually help measure the stock market types of risk you have in your portfolio, even bond risk. There are ways to measure it statistically so that it's not a question of not too much or not too risky. You actually know. It's like a speed limit. If you know going on the expressway, speed limit's 70. You can drive 95. People drive 95 miles an hour. I know that because I passed them on several occasions. People also, I couldn't help myself on that one.
You're always passing these people going so fast.
I got places to go. I don't know where they are, but I got places to go, people to see. So what will happen if you do that? You know, you can run into an employee of the state who will bust you for reckless driving. You could crash and not kill yourself and just mess yourself up, or you can get there sooner. So you understand the risk I'm taking. I know the risk. 70 miles an hour if I'm driving, I'm pretty good shape. 95, okay, I'm not sure. It's the same with the portfolio. It's the same with the kind of risk you have. You may have you've been told it's a well-balanced portfolio. What does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean my stock or the stock portion of my portfolio has 20% more risk than the market and my bond portfolio has 30% less interest rate than the market? What does it mean? We can help answer those questions, even if you've never thought of them. Because a lot of times we just, as investors, just say, well, I think I'm okay. But we never know. There's always that little thing down deep inside behind our belly button that says, am I really okay? So here's the offer I'll make to folks. Folks, if you're not sure, if you ask the question, am I really okay? Give us a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. We can set up some time to talk by phone, in person, answer your questions, get you the information you need so you can answer the question, am I going to be okay? Or you can go to our website, www.roncourser.com. We will get a hold of you if you contact us. That's a promise.
Well, again, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581 is the number to reach Certified Financial Planner, CFP, Ron Courser, and the team there at Ron Courser and Associates. And if you would like to have a solid financial plan, I encourage you to be in touch. If you've got any questions or concerns, doubts or worries that you've got a solid financial plan in place, pick up the phone, give them a call, 616-301-2581. Ron, we talk about a lot, some of the aspects of that planning process that you offer on a complimentary basis, helping people maximize their Social Security, understanding the risks that they're taking, the fees that they're paying, the taxes that they may be liable for, how to generate the income and how to protect it, and how to use the assets to leverage and provide as much protection for their family and loved ones as possible. All of those things, signs of a solid financial plan, but getting down into the minutiae, it's even more detailed than that, isn't it?
It really is, because in addition to understanding what kind of risk you're taking on your life savings, a second key point is, do you understand the tax hit you're going to take? Do you understand what taxes are going to do to your life savings? What do I mean by that? Let's pretend you have $1 million in a 401k or an IRA. That's pretty good. Congratulations. But the next question is, how much of that is yours? Most people say, well, it's all mine. No. The IRS stands in front of you to take the first dollar out of every plan that you make a withdrawal from. It's been estimated by a couple government studies that if people live to life expectancy, 30 to 35% of their tax-deferred accounts will go in taxes. And if you think what's happened in this last presidential season, there's a lot of folks out there that are saying taxes are going to go up. And they're never going to be as low as they are today. So if taxes are going to go up, that's just another cost, just like buying food, paying an electric bill in retirement. Do you understand what kind of tax implication your strategy has for you going forward? We can help do that. We're not a firm that says, see your tax advisor, although we do really like working with people's tax advisors because that really makes for solid planning. But as a certified financial planner, I can take a look at somebody's situation and give them a pretty good ballpark of where they're going to be. So that's important. Another one, and this is key, if you're married, does your spouse really know enough or understand enough about your retirement investment strategy, how things are laid out, to manage that if you die? A lot of people, I know that we meet them all the time. We have clients, wives will say, well, I don't really want to understand it or get into it, Ron. If something happens to my husband, Charlie, I'll just come to you. And I say, I appreciate that level of trust, but please, let's talk about my needs for a minute. I need to explain a little bit as to what's going to happen if he dies and what we need to do together so that you're comfortable and know what to do, as opposed to having something catastrophic happen and you panic. So that's important. Another one is, do you have an income allocation plan? Do you have a written income plan that shows you where all the money's coming from? Social Security, pensions, investments, everything. Does it tell you where all the money's coming from? Every single dollar, and how those dollars are going to be taxed and what's going to be left over for you to spend. You need an income plan that does that. As opposed to saying, well, I got $1 million. If I can get 5% rate of return, that's 50. I can live on 40. I'm going to be great. That may be. But here's what I've found out in the last 26 years in this business, is when people retire, they always spend more, particularly in the first 3 to 4 years, than they ever planned on. No matter how good the plan is, they're going to spend more. So we always build in a spend more portion into a plan because it's going to happen. You have more time. So if you want to have answers to questions, does your spouse understand the program? Do you know where your income plan is and what it's going to do for you? Do you understand the tax implications of how you're currently situated, how you're currently invested? Do you know the risk in your portfolio? If you're not certain with a 100% answer on any of those, give us a call at 616-301-2581 or go to our website, www.rodcourser.com. We can help provide you the answers that you need to make really good decisions because you've never had a situation, well, maybe you have. I made some really dumb decisions when I was younger, not thinking things through. It was one of those situations where when the car went in the ditch, it seemed like a good idea at the time. So when you're young, maybe you can afford to do that. As you get a little older and you get a little closer to retirement, you don't want to end up in a ditch, even if it seemed like a good idea at the time. So we can help with that. We can give you the answers you need. We want to help you. We want to make sure, even during this holiday season, if you have questions, we can provide the answers you need. So give us a call, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.roncourser.com. Be more than happy to help you.
Ron, I think that the holiday season can add a lot of stress onto people, especially if we don't have that plan. And I think that there's probably many lists of tips out there about how to make the holidays less stressful, but a lot of them probably include some financial elements. And certainly as we look forward to changing the calendar finally and moving into a new year, a lot of the resolutions that people make are health related, diet related, family related, work related, but I think the most common is financial related resolutions. And so having that plan in place really can help us de-stress a lot. People may be apprehensive. They may procrastinate thinking that it's in fact a stressful process, and it really isn't. And that's one of the jobs that you take on there at Ron Courser and Associates is helping people through that process. You've seen it before, making that as low stress as possible. But then each and every day thereafter, once that hard work is done, we can live a more relaxed, stress-free life, knowing that we have that plan in place.
Yeah, coming to see us is not like going to your dentist. That's a promise I make to people. We can relieve the stress because when you know what you have, you know pretty well how much it's going to cost. You know how it's going to work. You know that you're going to be okay. You know that you're going to make it. Those are things which add to the peace of mind that you have in your life. So we can help with those kinds of things to give you that peace of mind. Here's another great example. Debt always stresses people out. I don't care if you're 12 years old, 22 years old, or 72 years old. When people have debt, it's stressful because they really do believe that they have to pay it back. And I agree with that. But that creates stress. So one of the things, it's kind of an added benefit of a really good plan, we can build it into that plan, is how do we get rid of some of the debt? I'm not talking about retiring with $1 million in debt and you only have $300,000 saved. I'm talking about the debt that a lot of people pick up just because we're human beings. Credit card debt, other kinds of debt. And it may be 20 or 30,000. Sometimes there's a small mortgage left or a line of credit on a house. We can build into that plan for retirement a strategy to pay that down, sometimes faster than what people think. And that is a great stress reliever. To be debt-free is the most incredible experience. And I tell you, I go back to my own situation. About 10 years ago or so, we had about a $40,000 mortgage left on our house. And my wife, Nancy, would always kind of say, why don't we pay it off? And, you know, I just couldn't bring myself to take money out of the market or do something like that to do it. And then one day, I don't know why, I think maybe God said, why don't you just listen to her? Sometimes that happens. I get great advice from my wife a lot of times. And we paid off the $40,000. And I'll tell you what I did, ladies and gentlemen. I took it out of my Roth account. Most people's heads explode when I tell them that. But I took it out of my Roth account. We paid off the note Thursday morning. Saturday morning, I'm having some coffee, reading the Wall Street Journal, what I really like to do. And I sat back and I said, Lord, I think for the first time in my entire life, I am absolutely debt-free. What an incredible feeling that was. I mean, I can't describe it, but I was absolutely debt-free. I could have been debt-free earlier. I don't know what's wrong with my brain sometimes, but I was debt-free. What a wonderful thing to have, to be able to experience. And it gave us peace of mind. My wife was much more comfortable. And I always encourage people, just because you come into retirement with debt, don't let the people out there beat you up and say you shouldn't have done it. Sometimes it happens. Let us help you try to figure out how to get out from under that as fast and as rationally as possible.
Well, again, if you need help, if you need assistance, pick up the phone, give Ron Courser and Associates, your CFP, Certified Financial Planning Resource, Grand Rapids. Give Ron Corser a call, 616-301-2581. That is 616-301-2581. Ron, we've had a great time on today's program. Always appreciate the insight, the guidance, the perspective that you bring. This can be a stressful time during the holidays. It is a time when, unfortunately, I think we like to procrastinate. We've got so much to cram in here, but planning still needs to be a priority, ladies and gentlemen. Ron, you make the process simple. People can just begin with a phone call, and whether it stays at just a 5-minute phone call to get some answers, or it proceeds from there to either a virtual review or an in-person comprehensive review, you are able to accommodate, and you never charge anything for that initial time.
No, we never do. Our job is to help people, and we figure if we can do a really good job helping people, we'll be blessed too. But number one is the people who we come in contact with, to give them the answers they need. Because I think if people have the right information, most people can make really great decisions to help themselves. So call us, please, 616-301-2581. And one last piece of advice, you still have some time to get some shopping done. I get that. So I'm not sure if you have to get up early in the morning or late at night to reduce the stress, but get it done as fast as you can. And bless everybody listening to today's program. Drive safely, shop carefully, enjoy the holiday season.
Tune in to Ron Corser's full radio program, A Course to Retirement, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on WOOD, and visit roncorser.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Your Course to Retirement.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor.
Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group is solely an indication that the financial advisor has attended training provided by Ed Slott & Company, passed biannual examinations on material covered at conferences and in webinars, and met other membership requirements, and does not constitute an endorsement of any kind. Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group members pay a fee for the educational programs that allow them to be included in the Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Membership does not guarantee investment success. Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals or growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.